Hi, everyone. This is Kathy Aarons with Keller Williams Realty. And today I wanted to share with you some of the numbers that drive the U.S. real estate market. This is information that was shared with us a few weeks ago at the Keller Williams convention out in Las Vegas. And I wanted to go through some of these numbers so you can kind of get a sense of what's going on right now in the U.S. real estate market, as well as, what happened in 2024. So for starters, let's look at this graph, which shows the annual number of home sales last year. We were at 4.1 million, which, as you can see, over the course of the last 35 years or so, was a 29-year low. The last time we were at that rate of home sales was all the way back in 1995. So since then, the home sales went up to a high of 7.1 million, in the height of all the home sales in the early 2000s. And then now we're down to this low. So we're expecting to see that it stays about that level, or slightly above that over the next couple of years, but not a lot of difference in the upcoming years. So when we look at home prices, thinking about that low inventory, what we've seen is, prices have continued to go up because there's not a lot of homes available for the buyers that are looking to buy. Historically, the trend line has shown about a 4% appreciation over the course of time, and the median home sales price in 2024 was 408,000. So we're projecting that that will go up about another 2.5% in 2025. So not quite at that, 4% annual rate. So that puts us, for this year at about 9.9% above the trend, I should say, for 2024. So we are above that trend line. So that means prices are a little bit inflated, but certainly not as much as way back, in 2006, 7, those sorts of things, before the market really took a nosedive. So one of the things that was brought up was, the thought that you might be buying at the top of the moment, but if you look historically, what prices have done, even, the few times they've dropped some, they've recovered and continued that, increase over time. So while you might be buying at the top of the moment, you historically have never been buying at the top of the market. So one thing to keep in mind if you're a buyer and thinking, oh, am I going to pay too much? What's it going to look like in 5 to 10 years? You can see what the trend has been over the course of history. So obviously another big factor in the home buying process is the mortgage rates. So let's look at this. Starting back, you can see all the way from the 70s, we were tracking this. And historically, since then, the average historically rate was 7.72%. Many people remember back in the early 80s when you can see on this graph, it was 16%, certainly 12%, 10% along those lines. However, over the last 35 years or so, we've only seen about a 6% average. So that's why most buyers now are used to these much lower numbers, and certainly, even lower numbers more recently when we were down to the 3%, 4% range. So that is certainly a big factor in the interest rates. Another thing to consider is, looking at the rate history back from 2015, that's showing when we were back at, 3.67, and then how they've gone up, to a high of 5, but then dropped back down. During the pandemic, we were as low as 2.68, and then all the way back up, into the 7s last year and early this year. So lots of big difference in the mortgage rates would certainly have an effect, but all these things combine together to have an effect on the housing market. 74% of mortgages have an interest rate of 5% or less, because as you can see from this graph, if people were buying, anywhere from 2015, through 2021 or so, they had those low interest rates. So unless those people really have a need to move, they're reluctant to put their homes on the market. And nationally, 38% of homes across the country are actually mortgage free. So those sellers are typically only looking to move if they're, have some difference in their family. Maybe they're ready to downsize and then they're going to make a move. But certainly these interest rates play a part if they then need to go on to buy another property using a loan. So all these are factors that influence the U.S. housing market. There's many more details we could discuss with you, but certainly if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and we'd love to go into this in more detail. Thanks everyone and have a great day.